Okay. You're in the home stretch, a couple weeks left into the election.
Right.
What's the campaign looking like right now? How are we working the state?
Well, I just really don't know. You know, the polling data seems to be very erratic from everything we can tell, and I've just come through a primary, and the polling data there was just not dependable. And I think there's a lot of factors in our race that just makes it so this is going to be one of those exciting things. It's like a World Series game, and we just don't know till we really get to election night.
What's the most important issue?
Well, I think the question is what are voters going to be looking at? If the voters are taking a look at the last 4 years and Claire McCaskill's record, she's in very big trouble. Her record is totally undefendable. On the other hand, if they can make it about anything other than the record, then that would be her only chance to win.
Todd, you've had some heat that you've had to deal with some comments and stuff.
Yeah.
How have you been able to push through that and get your message out to the people?
You know, our message, particularly we've been doing it, as you can probably tell, a very grassroots kind of campaign. As we get out, we answer the questions, talk to people, and we feel that that's going very, very well. The ground campaign is. Our biggest challenge is that we have about a 9-to-1 disadvantage in television coverage. That's because Claire had a tremendous amount of money and support from her own party, and the support we're getting is just from freedom-loving Americans all over America, and not from the establishment.
Is there a single topic or one topic that's kind of popped out at you as important to Missourians in these last couple of weeks before they go to the polls?
Well, certainly I think there are a number of topics that really jump out, but I think the overarching difference between us is Claire McCaskill was the very first senator to endorse Barack Obama. She's been his strong right arm, and she's voted with him 98% of the time. And so she and her record are very closely connected. And that record can be characterized, aside from broken promises and being an ineffective record, it is also a record that is based on a deep faith in big government solutions, that is, federal solutions to all of our problems. And of course, my candidacy is about the opposite. I'm saying take some of the stuff Washington is doing, spin it back to the states or to free enterprise, reduce the size of the federal government, reduce taxes, increase jobs, and increase freedom. And that's really been the heart of our campaign. And that's why when I get done talking about what's happened to energy, what's happened to unemployment, what's happened to the claims we're going to cut the deficit in half and we triple it. And you take a look at Obamacare and how the people voted on that, and yet she voted for it after 71% of Missouri citizens voted no. When you get done looking at those things, what I like to do is to say, look, that's a bad record. It's broken promises, judged by their promises, but I like to offer something positive. And the positive that I like to talk about is, what is the secret that made America who we are? If you think about it, 4% of the world population in America has blessed this world with all kinds of technologies, new cures to diseases, all types of things that have come from America. Why did that happen? And my argument is, it's that idea that our Creator gave us life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and that pursuit of happiness is the freedom for each of us to live the dream that we have in our hearts. And when we do that, that type of freedom, that we go out, take risks, fall on our face, get back up, try it again, that is the stuff that made America who we are. And it's not, the American dream was never made by big government. It can never be done by big government. It's individual citizens and groups of citizens that get together and they dare to do things that people tell them, you can't do it and it won't work. You be careful when you say that to an American, because we prove that you can do things.
Todd, I was asked to ask you this question.
Uh-oh. You're not even one to own up to the question.
But it's my same question.
But some information came out that in the 90s, that you had put feet on your stance against abortion by being arrested at a protest. Mm-hmm. I'd like you to comment about that and talk about why it was important for you to be a part of an activity like that.
Well, I'd be happy to, and there's nothing new in that. In fact, it's 25 years old, and I took part in several peaceful protests in the area of abortion. I've always stood up for what I believe, but the thing that really amazes me is This is more of what I told people in the debate. You're going to have the old magician watch this hand while the other hand goes in your pocket. And so are we going to be talking about old news 25 years ago that I did protests in the area of abortion, which everybody knows I'm pro-life? Or are we going to talk about the fact that there is a lawsuit right now for sexual harassment in Claire McCaskill's family business? Are we going to talk about $39 million that has been taken in government money, no transparency as she promised, which goes directly to her family business? Are we going to ask any questions about that? How about the news that's breaking that in the Senate dining room, they were discussing the passing out of these millions of dollars? And it seems to me the question should really be on the record and on whether or not we've been a good steward of what we've been given. Look, I've been 12 years as a congressman. We haven't had any money going to our family business, and I think those are questions that should be asked. But I don't think there's anything new about the fact I'm pro-life or that I stand up for what I believe. I've stood up for a very fiscal discipline in terms of not spending money. I've stood up for the development of American energy, and so that's kind of but that's what I said in the debate. You're going to see anything other than the record. I mean, how do you stand on a record where you spend $787 billion, a million of it going to your own business, by the way, which is supposed to get the economy going, supposed to drop unemployment to the 5 or 6% level, and instead we have 43 months of unemployment that is only, that period is only like the Great Depression. That's a horrible record. And what it proves is that the solutions that are being used is big government doesn't solve these problems. We need to realize the federal government is out of control, our spending is out of control, we've got to throttle it back, get the private sector going, and we basically have to energize that spirit that's inside Americans. It's not too far from the surface. You remember that guy, Thomas Edison? He seems like kind of an example of what I'm talking about. He builds 100 light bulbs, none of them work, and his friends say, "Aren't you discouraged?" And he goes, "I'm not discouraged because I know 100 ways not to make a light bulb." And that's kind of the way we are as people. And I think that's the mechanism that gets things fixed. As an engineer, I can't stand people who sit there and tell you that the hail is coming and it's a storm and everything is terrible, and they don't give you a solution. The solution here is right under our nose. It's called freedom. That's what it's about.
You mentioned being pro-life. Do you have any response to Richard Murdoch's comments from last night about certain rapes intended by God?
Well, you know, I think that all of us think that life, or many people think life is a very sacred thing. We respect it in America. And so this is one of those things that, you know, people say things and you can misinterpret it. But I really, I just think that's something that probably you'll need to ask the party about. My relations with the party aren't as strong right now as they've been sometimes in the past.
The party isn't running away from those comments as they did with yours, I guess. Is that surprising to you? I guess that they're
Well,
taking it differently now.
yeah, you know, there are a lot of surprises in this world. Yeah, there are a lot of surprises. Mm-hmm.
One more question. You are just one man. If you do get elected, what's your strategy for getting more people on your side to make the changes that you want to make?
Well, I've been in the legislature a good number of years, and I have a pretty good idea, not that the House and the Senate are the same, but they're very similar, and that is you have votes that you got to pass, and somebody's going to want your vote to pass something. And as soon as that process starts working and you define some problems, make some friends, you start working and solving problems, and that's where it takes off. There are always a little bit of differences within parties. In the Republican House, in general, relations have been pretty friendly between, it's a family. I don't quite know what the Senate's like, but I do know that it's a legislative body and you're trying to work together to solve problems. And as an engineer, I'm pretty comfortable with that.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you, Congressman.
Got it? Okay.